That was awesome. Thank you. That was so cool. That reminds me, that song, I'll share a story with you real quick. I remember quite vividly when I was young and I had a moment of clarity concerning that very song, because when I first heard the song, and for many years, I thought that was a command song. If I wanted the answers, I needed to go out and blow in the wind. So I would stand out sometimes in the child going, there were not many answers in that, but I did hyperventilate a time or two. I truly thought that that's what the song meant. And then one time I realized, I gotta listen to the wind, and then I'll hear the answers. So it made it so much easier. And I gotta tell you, I haven't hyperventilated since then, so it's a different perspective. It's talking versus listening, the prayer versus meditation. We go through these journeys, I think, sometimes. So I'm so happy to be back with you all today. I'm so glad it's spring. It's so beautiful outside. And the trees are flowering. It's so nice. But with the flowering trees come a lot of pollen. Has anybody had allergies or anything? It's been so I just want to tell you, if I sniff, it's not because spirit moves me. It's because the pollen irritates me. So I'll try to do my best, because I realize if I sniff, it's going to be magnified and multiplied all through the shaken down, heaped up, and pressed out, right? So I want to share with you today about peace. But before I start the lesson, I want to tell you about a lady who was over in the Middle East, and she was at the Wailing Wall, which is a place where people go to pray. And she was standing at the Wailing Wall, and after a few moments, she noticed a very elderly Jewish man who was there, and he was praying earnestly, so she didn't want to disturb him. But after a while, he came out from prayer, so she stood, and then struck up a conversation with him. And she asked, "What are you doing here? Why are you here?" And he explained to her that for 60 years, he'd been coming to the Wailing Wall to pray for peace between the Jewish people and the Christians, between the Christians and the Muslims, that he was just there to pray each and every day. And she says, "Wow, 60 years. How does it feel to pray for 60 years? Pray for peace." And he looked at her and he says, "I gotta tell you, it feels like I'm talking to a wall." Yeah. But it's true. Have you ever felt that way in your life? You're praying for peace. Things are so chaotic. You don't know the answers. You're searching. People are fighting. We live in a sometimes chaotic world, and it oftentimes does feel like we're talking to a brick wall. And I've been thinking about that over the past several years as things seem to move at a rapid rate with politics and science and so many different things changing. And I wondered, is there a way that we as spiritual students can put together pieces of our lives, or can activate spiritual powers so that we can feel peace? Are there pieces to putting together peace? And so I prayed about it, and I believe that there are. I think there are very easy, simple pieces that we can activate in our lives so that we can claim peace. And so today I want to share with you what I believe are the pieces to attaining peace. So the first step is faith. I believe that faith is the first step in attaining peace in our lives. Martin Luther King said that faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. Faith is the choice that we make as spiritual students to align our minds with the divine. It's thinking the way God thinks. It's knowing what Spirit knows. It's allowing ourselves to claim the truth of our lives and our experiences here. And I believe that Jesus so beautifully embodied that. I'm sure you remember that in the Garden of Gethsemane, as Jesus went to pray, he knew what was laid before him. He knew the path. He knew that he would be betrayed. He knew that he would be tried. And ultimately, he knew that he would be crucified. But his faith in the resurrection, his faith in the truth of life, his faith was stronger than any of the fears in the world. And when he was able to focus on that resurrection, he could endure and overcome the crucifixion. And the same is true for you. We all go through our times of darkness. We all go through our times of struggle. But let your faith in the resurrection be stronger than any of your fears. And that faith will see you through each and every time. Faith. So how can we choose faith? When we're bombarded with negativity, when we hear the bad news, when it seems like there's so many things going wrong, how can we activate, choose, and strengthen faith? Well, I believe that in Unity we're very fortunate because we have access to two very powerful tools that help to train and strengthen our ability to activate our faith. And the first is affirmations. Affirmative statements help us align our thinking, right-minded thinking, so that we can remember truth. So affirming, I am courageous. I am love. I am spirit-led. I am guided. I am accepted. I am whole. I am joyful. I am present. I am. Just affirm that with me right now. I am. I am. You are. So every time we practice affirmations, it's not just words that sound nice. It is an act of faith. And I want you to remember that each and every day when you choose your words. Affirm your faith. Choose your words wisely with love. So strengthening our faith can come from affirmations. Another really powerful way that we can grow our faith is through learning, through spiritual learning. Books like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, Course in Miracles. So many wonderful and rich spiritual texts are available for us so that we can feed our minds with the positive, so that we can be nourished by what is good and right and true. So I encourage you every day to actively seek out something that inspires you, something that delights you, something that intrigues you. Because the more curious your mind is, the more you will become faithful. The more you will realize that there is so much good, so much truth that abounds. So practice your affirmations and nourish your mind. Learn something every day, and that will help grow your faith. Because faith is the first piece of peace. Hold on to faith. I want you to take faith. Would you mind to hold faith for me? You? Yeah? Sure. Will you hold on to faith? Sure. Thank you. She's going to be our keeper of faith, okay? So we activate our faith each day. But there's more. There's more to hope than just faith. There's more to peace than just faith. Guess what the second thing is? Spoiler alert. It's hope. So faith activates our mind. That's that divine mind. But what hope is about our heart. Hope is about home. Claiming hope is allowing ourselves to feel, to receive, to be richly blessed by the love of Spirit. Hope lets us dream what Spirit dreams. Hope lets us feel what Spirit feels. Hope lifts us to a place where we know there's more. Anne Frank is someone that I believe beautifully embodies hope and is a wonderful example of hope and light even in the midst of darkness. So I want to share a little bit about Anne Frank with you and about how I believe she can inspire us as we put together pieces to formulate peace in our lives. So Anne Frank was a young girl who was a Jewish girl. And she was born in the middle of a time in human history when there was a great deal of conflict, a great deal of misunderstanding, and fear was running rampant. People were picking sides and dividing among themselves. And for whatever reason, an entire race was caught in the crossfire. And so Anne and her family were forced, for their very lives, to go into hiding into a small annex, where they stayed for 2 years, from 1942 until 1944. Now, as they stayed in this annex, they could not sneeze, they could not talk, they could not speak. They had to be very quiet, or else their lives could be ended. I don't think that we today can imagine living in circumstances like that. In order for them to receive food, people had to risk their lives to provide their basic human needs. But that's what they had to do to survive. And I think any of us in that circumstance would be extremely challenged to feel happy, to feel joy, let alone to have the opportunity to experience hope. But a 15-year-old girl was able to feel that, and she expressed that and wrote about that beautifully in her journal. So if you've not read The Diary of Anne Frank lately, I really encourage you to do so, because it's pretty incredible. But what Anne Frank wrote is, in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. She was able to make that statement. When there's hope, there's life. Hope fills us with fresh courage and makes us strong again. That's the power of hope. So how do we learn to feel hopeful? When things seem so bleak, when there's so much fighting, when there's so much fear and misunderstanding, how can we be like Anne and claim and feel and express hope in our world? I think one of the easiest ways just happens to be right outside the front door, and that's by spending time in nature. Our earth is a beautiful teacher about holding on, about new life, about trust, about rhythm, holding on and letting go. But nature can recenter us, can put us back into our hearts so that we can feel that spirit of hope. So after you've taken your Zyrtec, go outside and sit with the trees and feel hope, because it's there. Another way that I think we can find hope and remember hope is through creativity. Oh my gosh, when you sing, lifting your voice and making a joyful noise, that lifts your heart. It can rekindle some of that love, and it can bring back that spirit of hope. So sing. Doesn't matter how it sounds, just sing, just do it. Lift your voice and sing. Dance, creative movement. Oh, it feels so good to just move our bodies in rhythm with spirit, in rhythm with your own heartbeat. That can restore that life force. Get you back into that divine flow. So to activate your hope, sing and dance. Write, sculpt, paint, whatever it is that comes from this creative and vital spirit life force within you. Claim it, indulge in it, savor it, activate it. Because it's through our creativity, it's through our emotions, it is through our hearts that we claim and that we feel hope. That's the power of hope. It's life force. So, who would like to hold on to hope for me? You want hope? All right. Here's hope. It's our second piece to finding peace. You're welcome. So, we've got faith, which is about our minds. It's about the choice to know what God knows. It's aligning with the divine. And we have hope, which is letting ourselves feel what Spirit feels, to be lifted and inspired. But there's one more piece to experiencing peace in our world. Anybody have any guesses what that peace might be? Love? Yeah, it's love. We can never have peace without love, right? Yeah. So what is love? Love is a choice to be patient. Love is a choice to be kind and to be humble. Love is a choice to release anger and to keep no record of wrong. Love is a choice to rejoice in truth, to protect, to trust, to hope, and to persevere. I believe that love is the decision to understand that love never fails. Love is a choice. So when we choose love in our lives, we activate our true spiritual power. Love is a choice to ceaselessly and fearlessly claim Spirit, even in the midst of our world. Maya Angelou says, love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls to arrive at its destination, full of hope. That's the power of love. A person that I believe truly embodies love is a lady I want to teach you about now, or tell you about now. Her name is Wangari Maathai. She's a lady from Africa who's affectionately known as Mama Miti. She made her transition in 2011, so she's no longer physically with us, but I think her spirit is very much alive. So she was born in the country of Kenya in 1940. Kenya is a very war-torn country. And she was forced to move from her village. Her family was separated. She went through circumstances as a young child that we probably can't imagine. But through it all, there were seeds of hope in her. She had faith, and she loved her country. She loved the earth. She had so much love. But she realized that just staying in the village and just staying as she was probably wasn't the best way for her to do the work she was called to do. And so she actively sought out any opportunity to learn. She learned about nature, she learned about biology, she learned about zoology. She learned all she could. And she was invited to come to the United States and study, and she did that and attained a master's degree. So after she completed her education, she went back to Kenya and found the country in worse shape than when she had left. And what she realized is that big corporations were coming in and stripping away the resources of the land, cutting down trees. And as each tree was removed, a source of fuel for fire, for cooking food, was taken. Protection, habitat for animals, the farmland was starting to struggle. And she couldn't let this go. So she gathered together some of the women of the village. Her love was so great for the earth, so great for her people. And she told the women, we're going to plant a tree. And the women said, one tree won't make a difference. And she said, no, we're not going to plant one tree. We're going to plant 1 million trees. And these women in the village laughed at her. They said, no nursery can hold 1 million trees. Where will we get these trees? She says, these trees don't come from a nursery. These trees will come from the seeds that we will gather and that we will plant together. And so these women who had never had work, never had income, were able to go out and harvest seeds, bring them back, and put them in little cans, and they were paid for their work. And when the little trees got to be about 1 foot long, Mama Miti would take them, and the women would go and start planting the little trees. Tree by tree by tree. And each tree she blessed, each tree she loved. And she was very thankful for the opportunity to do this work. But she didn't stop at 1 million trees. Because by the year 2004, Mama Miti had planted 4 million trees. 4 million. And she became the first African woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize for her work in environmentalism and women and human rights in 2004. It's okay.
What did she earn for the prize?
The Nobel Prize. She was recognized and got to go to a very wonderful reception and was given a prize for that. I know, isn't that amazing? Yeah. That's the power of love. Love didn't stop at 1 tree. Love didn't stop at 1 million trees. Love didn't even stop at 4 million trees. Because do you know what she did to celebrate winning the Nobel Peace Prize? She planted a tree. She did. She said, Mama Miti said, people criticized her because she was a highly educated woman, and she was more than these villagers. She had grown out of that, but she went back to that. She got her hands in the dirt. She sang. She put her knees down on the ground, and she was criticized very often. Why would you go back to that? And she said, people ridiculed me for putting my hands in the dirt and my knees on the ground, but I had no problem with that at all. After all, we are children of the same soil. We are all children of the same soil. We are all children of the same God. We are all one. Yes, we have different bodies, different paths, different beliefs, different actions and attitudes, but we come from the same source. And we are here together sharing the same earth. And love has the power to plant 4,000,001 trees. That's the power of love. And that is our final piece that we can activate with peace. Who wants to hold on to love? Sean, will you hold on to love?
Sure.
All right. There you go. So the foundation that Mama Miti founded was called the Green Belt Movement. So if you have a chance, look up and read about that, because it's pretty amazing. Her life is truly awe-inspiring, what she was able to do because of the power of love. Love never fails. So here we have these pieces of peace. We have faith. Hold up faith. Where's our faith? And we have our hope. Now comes hope. Cue the hope. There it is. And then we have love. Each and every day, we have the choice to activate these spiritual powers. But there's one thing that brings all this together. Because if we just have a little faith over here, and a little hope over here, and a little love over here, that's fine, but we need something that brings it all together. And that something is spirit. Spirit is the Alpha and the Omega. It has no beginning and no end. It's eternal, just like this circle. Spirit connects us and ties us, not just in this lifetime, but through all of every lifetime. We are always all connected. That's spirit. And so it's spirit that brings all these pieces together so that we can truly feel the peace that passes understanding. We experience it in this world, but it is not of this world. True peace is of spirit. So when we bring together these pieces, and when we unite in spirit, that's when we feel that true power. That's peace. So I want faith and hope and love to come up here, and I want you to see how these pieces fit together. So we're going to put love on here first. And your hope goes right here. And your faith goes right here. You're welcome. And look what we have. It's the pieces of peace. So now every time you see a peace sign, I want you to activate faith, hope, and love. And when you activate those, you can't help but feel peace. You might even feel bliss. You'll go hug a tree. That's how we bring peace into our world. And this is for you to keep. So you can keep this here, put it in the fellowship hall. You're welcome. So this week, are you going to align your mind with the divine and activate your faith? Yes. Will you lift your heart and sing and dance and create and activate hope? Yes. And will you love? Will you choose love? Yes. Then you will find peace today and every day. Thank you so much. Namaste.